Seema Modi has more color on the meeting. Seema, what do we expect to be on the agenda?
Well, Sarah, NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang, we're hearing, is in D.C. and will be meeting with President Trump at the White House today, per sources familiar. The main topic the two leaders are expected to discuss is our country's artificial intelligence policy. I'm told that DeepSeek will no doubt come up in the discussion, but that's not what prompted this meeting. It's been in the books for a while as a way for Huang and Trump to get to know each other better. Other topics range from U.S. chip restrictions on China, which are currently being evaluated by the White House, and the onshoring of semiconductor production in the U.S. as the Commerce Department looks at ways to revamp the Biden's CHIPS Act. Another topic Huang will likely bring up is the Biden administration's diffusion rule, which was unveiled just days before Biden left office, that severely limits the shipment of graphic processing units to a large list of countries, which critics have said will impact our country's leadership if it does go into effect. So, guys, the question is whether Trump will reverse that specific rule that is expected to go into effect this spring, David.
Following a roller coaster week for the chipmaker stock, Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang is scheduled to meet with President Donald Trump at the White House, according to a report released on Friday. Following the market tremors caused by the explosive growth of the Chinese AI startup DeepSeek, shares lost almost 12% of their value this week and fluctuated between gains and losses near $125 in afternoon trading on Friday. Shares of Nvidia and other AI stocks plunged earlier in the week as a result of a Wall Street reckoning about the competitiveness of American AI leaders and their tech spending, sparked by the soaring popularity of an app from DeepSeek that claimed to have created an AI model that rivaled the performance of American competitors for a fraction of the price. Analysts have, however, generally maintained their optimism over the chipmaker's stock. On Wednesday, Bank of America informed customers that they view the recent sell-off as an enhanced buy opportunity. The market's response might have been exaggerated, according to analysts at Raymond James, Wedbush, Citi, Bernstein, and other firms. Nvidia, Broadcom, and other AI chip makers stand to gain from big tech firms like Microsoft, Amazon, and Alphabet, spending even more on AI due to competition from China, according to Raymond James and Bank of America. Microsoft and Meta executives reaffirmed their plans to invest billions of dollars in AI infrastructure this year during earnings calls this week. Huang's White House meeting also follows rumors that the Trump administration may be thinking about imposing limits on the selling of sophisticated American chips to China. More than 15% of Nvidia's third-quarter fiscal revenues came from sales to China, the chipmaker revealed in November. On February 26th, Nvidia is scheduled to release its fourth-quarter earnings. So, what implications does this have for Nvidia's stock? Let's explore that. But first, a big thank you to those of you who've stuck with us this far. Creating these videos takes significant effort and dedication. So if you're enjoying the content, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share your thoughts on Nvidia stock in the comments. Your support truly helps us grow. Now, let's get back to the video.
All right, let's circle back to NVIDIA because, I do want to note, still in positive territory, holding on to those gains that it just acquired a few minutes ago. There's clearly DeepSeek really roiled markets on Monday. We've seen some names recover. NVIDIA has recovered a bit. It was down about 17% on Monday, now down about 12% this week. There's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of skepticism about what chips DeepSeek actually used and how much they actually spent, that $5.6 million price tag. It sounds like the government is looking into how DeepSeek actually acquired its chips. Fill us in on that story.
Yeah, and so I think that's going to be the piece where NVIDIA is perhaps getting hit a little bit in both ways. Clearly, the story itself was a bit of a deflationary shock on this particular sector or subsector of the market, which is AI semiconductors. Even if it's just marginally true, Caroline, if there's any type of adjustment into how much capacity is needed for this, it does change the dynamic substantially for a company like Nvidia that is priced for this story to accelerate and continue to build and get better. If you need 1/20th or 1/10th or even a fifth of how many you thought you needed, that changes the things dramatically. So I don't know what the numbers ultimately will be, but that did impact things, and clearly the price reflects that. Now, there's a question now. One is how much of that story is ultimately true. Of course, we don't know yet. And the second piece is, how did they get these chips? Because they're not supposed to be selling them to these companies based off of current restrictions. And it looks like they're investigating, to your point, some sort of intermediary third party through Singapore. And if that channel gets locked down in some way, that could be net negative for a company like Nvidia too, because those are still sales that are happening. But those sales won't necessarily need to happen if ultimately that third party doesn't have a place to sell them in the end. So that's sort of the downside of these restrictions, is it almost like creates a black market of sorts where, if there's a demand for these products, they're going to find their way there eventually anyways. But that's a story for another day. I did see another headline that the CEO of NVIDIA is planning to meet with Donald Trump today. So the president meeting with NVIDIA, perhaps both of these topics will be discussed. And so that might be something to monitor if you're watching NVIDIA today. If any of those headlines or a readout for how that meeting goes does hit the newswire, I would expect it to have an impact.
So, Alex.
According to people familiar with the situation who asked not to be named because they were not permitted to comment publicly on the preparations, Huang and Trump are likely to mostly discuss U.S. artificial intelligence policy. According to the sources, the meeting is viewed as a means for both leaders to get to know one another, while China's DeepSeek is probably going to be discussed. In recent months, Trump has received more support from leading tech executives than during his first term. However, since the president began his second term last week, Huang and Trump have not met. Trump's inauguration was attended by numerous other business executives. Among them were Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Meta, and Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI. Additionally, they made individual or corporate donations to the event. Elon Musk, the CEO of SpaceX and Tesla, has become one of Trump's most important advisors after providing significant campaign funding. Through his supervision of the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, an external advisory body, Musk is carrying out Trump administration policies. Huang went to the Nvidia operations in China on the day of the opening. With Nvidia, currently the third most valued U.S. firm, facing a number of regulatory obstacles due to the global demand for its AI chips, Trump and Huang will likely have a lot to talk about. Export restrictions keep the most potent Nvidia AI chips from reaching nations like China and Russia, and soon a number of other nations as well. According to CNBC, the White House is presently reviewing U.S. chip sanctions on China. The two will probably also talk about the diffusion rules that the Biden administration declared in its closing days. The regulations significantly restrict the sale of chips abroad, and both Nvidia and Advanced Micro Devices responded sharply. Trump has the authority to revoke them, but they are anticipated to take effect this year. As the Commerce Department looks to update the previous administration's CHIPS Act, which provided subsidies to firms like Intel and Taiwan's Semiconductor Manufacturing Co. to establish new chip foundries in the United States, Huang and Trump are also anticipated to talk about investments in U.S. chip production. According to the sources, the majority of NVIDIA's chips are made in TSMC's state-of-the-art plants in Taiwan. To stay informed about the latest developments from NVIDIA and the ever-changing stock market, consider subscribing to our investing tutorial channel. We provide daily updates on significant market shifts and key catalysts, so hit that subscribe button to ensure you never miss crucial information. We'd love to hear your thoughts on NVIDIA stock, so please share your opinions in the comments below. Now, let's dive into today's video.
Joins us now on the phone because he, in fact, has bought more NVIDIA today. Tell me why today was the day to do that, given the headlines that we showed our viewers from that wall, the questions that are still out there, the fact that this stock has tried to bounce rather unsuccessfully.
So that's all correct. And basically, I agree with everything that Rob said, including, by the way, his aversion to hearing him talk. But the reason I bought it is the headlines today, in part. And it's been a pretty successful strategy with Taiwan Semi, with Netflix, with United Healthcare on high-quality, permanent compounders to buy the dip. And so what we've seen this week is a lot of frightened holders who perhaps didn't know what they owned, bought the momentum, exiting the stock. So, look, I don't know what happens with the meeting of Jensen and Trump. Nobody does. But I can tell you, anybody that's ever met with Trump recently has come out with Trump on their side and supportive of them. So you will come to a situation, of course, with DeepSeek where tech lines up on two sides. You've got the Metas of the world who really want to drive down costs. Yet they said that they're not revising their budget. Nobody should in this. So you're going to win from that with NVIDIA. Now, it's not news that NVIDIA's margins are going to come under pressure. That, in fact, is Moore's Law. The only news is that it may be happening sooner than later, but they will continue to innovate. So right now, I'm buying the panic selling in that. I also bought the panic selling in Taiwan Semi. I also bought smaller, because it wasn't really a big decline, on Microsoft as well yesterday. So I just take those opportunities for what I believe is still going to be a great AI CapEx cycle for technology. The difference being, at least for now, you have to be more selective. So each of those have an idiosyncratic bull case to them versus the broader range that don't. So that's why I bought those and topped them up.
Okay, great stuff.
And
Thanks
also,
for calling.
Scott,
Yeah.
well, let me give you Vertiv. I also added to Vertiv again on the heels of the Meta's announcement. They're not slowing down.
Okay. I appreciate you, Steve. Thank you for calling in and so clearly laying out exactly why now is the time to add to these positions.
According to reports, the Trump administration is looking into whether DeepSeek purchased Nvidia's cutting-edge computer processors in Singapore, even though U.S. export restrictions prevented the sale of the potent technology to companies based in China. Elon Musk and Palmer Luckey, two prominent tech figures, have expressed doubt about DeepSeek's assertion that, for less than $6 million and without the use of Nvidia's most potent GPUs, it was able to train an AI model comparable to its U.S. competitors. According to people familiar with the situation, officials at the FBI and the White House are looking into whether DeepSeek may have obtained the prohibited chips from outside vendors in Singapore in order to circumvent the restriction. Leading members of the House's China Select Committee, meanwhile, asked the Trump administration to make sure it won't take advantage of legal loopholes and gaps to further its AI goals. The letter to Trump's national security advisor, Mike Waltz, asked him to look for methods to improve restrictions on shipments through third nations that represent a significant risk of diversion. For instance, in its most recent quarterly report, Nvidia reported that Singapore accounted for 22% of its sales, even though the business acknowledged that the majority of these shipments ended up going to customers outside of Singapore. Investors feared that Nvidia chips were not as necessary to the AI race as previously believed, which led to a $1 trillion sell-off when DeepSeek claimed to have created an incredibly efficient chatbot so inexpensively. Alexander Wang, the CEO of Scale AI, recently claimed that DeepSeek had a supply of cutting-edge Nvidia chips that it was unable to openly declare because of export restrictions. In a statement, Nvidia stated that we demand that our partners abide by all relevant laws and take appropriate action in the event that we learn otherwise. Prior to this, Nvidia claimed that DeepSeek had not broken any export laws. President Trump's nominee for Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, claimed earlier this week that DeepSeek most likely had unauthorized access to Nvidia's chips. During his confirmation hearing on Wednesday, Lutnick stated that their DeepSeek model is powered by Nvidia's CPUs, which they purchased in large quantities and managed to get around. It must come to an end. Allow them to compete with us if they so choose, but refrain from using our resources to do so. I will thus be quite firm on that. DeepSeek said in a study published last month that it only needed 2,048 of Nvidia's H800 chips to train its V3 model. After the Biden administration prohibited the sale of more sophisticated chips, Nvidia deliberately developed the lower-power H800 for Chinese companies. The Biden government also prohibited the sale of the H800 in October 2023, which prompted Nvidia to create the H20, a less potent variant. Bloomberg reports that the Trump administration is currently debating whether to impose export restrictions on the H20. One of the most outspoken opponents of DeepSeek's assertions is Luckey, the head of the AI defense company Anduril. He attacked DeepSeek earlier this week for disseminating CCP propaganda that was intended to cast doubt on U.S. efforts to create cutting-edge AI. China, the media, and DeepSeek have no reason to correct the record because many U.S. firms, including Nvidia, plummeted to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars, according to Luckey. He claimed that there were many helpful fools in the U.S. media who were merely mindlessly reporting that. In the meantime, Microsoft and Meta officials have stated that they still intend to invest hundreds of billions of dollars in computer chips and other AI-related infrastructure over the next years. Don't forget to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your input helps create a more knowledgeable community where we can all learn and grow together in the world of investing. Stay up to date with the latest market trends, insights, and key updates by subscribing to Investing Tutorial. We're here to help you make smarter investment decisions and stay ahead of the curve.